So Antonio, thank you so much for taking the time to catch up with me here at Fyuz. We had some really interesting keynote presentations this morning. I think one of the big takeaways for me, if you think just of Vodafone's announcement, tendering 170,000 sites, 30% Open RAN, so 50,000 sites out there that'll go open in the next few years. What do you make of this? What does this mean for sort of the acceleration of the technology into the market?
So Shane, thank you very much for inviting me for this conversation. I agree that this morning was a very exciting news coming from the market. Very good introduction for Fyuz, and particularly the presentation for Vodafone in UK, announcing Open RAN, and the previous two presenters also mentioning about the traditional vendors also moving into the right direction of Open RAN. Basically, that proves the industry is right, that 5G needs open architectures, needs Open RAN, and 6G will be required to have this open architecture also. So I think moving into that direction is the industry was needing it, the operators was putting a lot of pressure to actually make it happen, and finally traditional vendors are announcing that they are also moving into that direction. So it's very good for all of us.
Yeah, and opportunities notwithstanding, there still are some challenges, and I think one of the themes here of the program is just the ongoing ecosystem development that Open RAN requires to succeed. So maybe tell me a little bit more about how you see incumbent vendors embracing Open RAN as lifting everybody.
Yeah, I think they have been also putting some roadblocks to Open RAN. I mean, traditionally, over the last 20 plus years, they have been developing functionality features that now they are trying to throw into the RFPs from the operators. So basically putting a feature parity that, I mean, I have received RFPs that normally are more than 1,000 features that they are claiming that they need Open RAN to have developed also. But the reality is that those functionalities are not required, they are not needed. So I think from feature parity is one of the things that the industry is asking us to promote, to develop. Reality is that now that we have reached certain level of feature parity, there are some functionality that are not being used in the industry that is no need to develop. Reality, and actually was mentioned this morning, Open RAN is bringing for the first time benefits that traditional RAN cannot sustain, cannot bring, and that's why maybe what the other vendors are promoting. For example, they are bringing with Open RAN automation, using artificial intelligence and machine learning to actually make the networks more efficient, more agile. Things that with traditional RAN they cannot do. The terms of deployment, rapid deployment. With Open RAN, with a push of a button, you actually scale up. You can actually do upgrades. So right now, Open RAN is doing constant developments that we can do because of the type of architecture that we have there. So traditional RAN, you need to go to visit the sites. It's a lot of extra cost from manpower and from functionality perspective that we are competing there.
Yes, it does seem like we've gotten to a point where the interoperability and the process of achieving it has been well established and is getting more and more replicable, so you're getting more onto innovative features that Open RAN can enable. And I wanted to go back to a comment you made earlier, there's no 6G without 5G, and while we're maybe not even at the midpoint of the 5G cycle, how do you see these concepts being developed now for Open RAN applying forward?
Okay, as I said, the new architecture is all IP, it's all traditional IT, and the operators are also needing to adopt their operational team to actually develop the new technology, the new architectures. There is another point that is important to take in consideration is typically all this is software-only approach, where all the innovation is coming, but you cannot forget the last piece of the equation, which is the radios, which is hardware. For the radios, that's another major challenge that we need to get volume in the industry to actually make it happen. So with recent announcements, for example, of having incumbents opening up their interfaces, now any industry, any developer can develop software for open interfaces, for any radio, regardless of who provided. So in our case, we have actually been filling the gaps. I mean, Sometimes operators compare us with traditional vendor because we are actually doing not only the software piece but also the hardware piece and also the integration. So we are doing end-to-end for the operator because they are demanding that. But I think the true ecosystem in Open RAN, in open architecture, is where everybody contributes with the state-of-the-art technology there. So right now we can fill the gap in everything, but it's good when the customer asks us to use our software in competitors' hardware, because at the end that's the whole purpose of opening the structure. So moving into 5G to 6G, you know that 5G needs a lot of investment. I mean, to achieve what 5G SA actually brings in technology, that you need low latency, that you have better coverage, you use millimeter wave, for example, massive MIMO, you need to actually do a huge investment that with traditional technology you cannot achieve. Open RAN web architecture is the only way to actually make it happen. So operators are struggling, that's why they are putting a lot of pressure to reduce costs, and the way to do it is with Open RAN, open architecture.
So we've talked about Open RAN, but maybe you can expand the aperture a little bit and give us a more general update about Mavenir across the portfolio.
Thank you for making that comment, because actually when I joined Mavenir maybe 6 years ago, the beauty that I have seen is actually the experience that Mavenir brought from moving from the core platform side, being a leader on innovation and trying to do from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G in open architecture, using COTS hardware, using any cloud, any hyperscaler, any hypervisor. That was important knowledge that the company had gained to actually apply that same concept into the last piece of the network that was not open, which is the RAN area, the access area. And that's what you are seeing here in Fyuz all the time. I mean, now with open transport, open access, open RAN, is that innovation, that knowledge, that background that Mavenir has. Now we are applying that, moving from 4G to 5G, and that's where we are being successful. We recently announced, or we actually had some good success in my market, also in Europe and also in Latin America, in the core side, for example, where we applied same concept, open solution, using different clouds providers, different hyperscalers. That's what we are doing today.
And then last question, Antonio, I know you've got a busy week, you're going to meet with customers, prospective customers, and otherwise talk with some of your colleagues in the industry while we're at the show here. What's your primary message to them going to be, and what are you hoping to learn from them?
My message will be, do it now, just do it. I was visiting perhaps the largest customer that we had in the US for Open RAN, which is Dish. And I learned from them. They embraced this technology a few years back, even knowing that the technology was not ready at that time. But they actually mentioned, that was a message shared with them, that they shared actually to us, to some of the visitors they were having, that if they had not embraced this technology at that time, they would not have a possibility to compete today with incumbent operators, AT&T, Verizon, I mean, and using traditional vendors, they will end up with a traditional network. So they actually were very eager to actually promote and take ownership on our technology. Actually, in that case, they are actually serving as an integrator of different vendors, but they see the benefit nowadays. They actually doing really well, prepared to competition with a technology, with a network that is very flexible based on the future, not based on legacy. So that will be my message to the CTOs that have not taken the decision yet. I find in my region some CTOs that are very fast-forward thinkers, and they just embrace the challenges of introducing new technology, because it's not just challenging of being a new vendor, it's challenges of actually preparing their own operations team to actually use the openness of the new architecture. I have some CTOs that are more based on traditional architecture. They don't want to innovate. They believe that they cannot do the step without relying on incumbent vendors. So they are a little bit afraid of actually doing the transition because they rely so much on the incumbent vendor. But I would say do it because the benefits is the only way to actually succeed, to grow in the future.
Excellent. Well, Antonio, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective with me and with our audience.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you for being here. Thank you.